(844-711-8800) now. Smile and have a happy day. It's the 70s on 7 with flavors for music fans who love variety. Pop, rock, disco, soul.
Ridiculous, people. So ridiculous here. I'm so sick of this client. I hate working with them. Oh boy. Library. Favorites. Where's
my... Called AppleSoft Basic that was produced by a company called Microsoft, and it was called the Soft Card. And that Soft Card was the business in which Microsoft was. So they were in the cards business, and they were licensing the operating system. By card, it seems a printed circuit board that you plug in to your Apple II computer, and voila, presto, you have a CPM machine. That's right. Or not a CPM machine, but a... It was? It turned your Apple II into CPM machine. Essentially, that's what it did. It allowed it to run CPM programs. And the fascinating thing is that IBM asked him, well, can't you do an operating system for us? And when they asked that enough, Gates turned around, found a company in Seattle who had a clone of CPM, a compatible product with CPM, and bought it from them for a few $1,000s and sold it back from IBM, and this became MS-DOS, PC-DOS, and ultimately Windows. And this man, Mr. Gates, was at that time probably 22 or 23 years old, something like that? Probably he was in his 20s, yeah. So that was a very, very important piece of the industry. And digital research, of course, stayed an important company for a while, but had this very big impact, very large impact on the industry, because to a large extent, PC-DOS, MS-DOS, which is, the operating system that's running under Windows under every machine, basically is still Gary Kildall's design. As you may know, Gary Kildall tragically died about less than a year ago, and it's an interesting part of our business. I mean, not the fact that he died, that's a sad thing, but what I mean is, what's interesting is the genesis of where Windows and DOS and these operating systems came from. Well, you don't normally hear these days the term CPM. In fact, I don't think I've heard it other than on this radio show for several years. That's me. I mean, I'm not in the thick of the microcomputer industry as you are. But that was the refusal to sign the non-disclosure really changed the course of history, didn't it? It could have become a CPM world. As it happened, it became a Microsoft world. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was an absolute one of those turning points, and one of those details that makes a major difference over time. Oh my. Well, getting back to you and Borland, so you went to work for a company that was doing CPM, multi-user CPM systems. That company was called OSM. It was a Korean-owned company, and the good news is that they hired me because I think that there was about 75 people in the company. 74 of them were probably illegal, so it didn't make a difference if I didn't have a work permit, and so they were really happy to have me. And so I worked for about 9 months in that company and tried to help them. That helped me establish my consulting business, and I started building a consulting business. That consulting business was called MIT, and it was a software development consulting business, and MIT meant market in time, and it meant that I was there to try to help companies around reach market in time with their software. So I did a lot of consulting with companies such as Osborne Computer. I actually got a contract with Adam Osborne at the time to build the operating system for their next portable machine. So I was very excited about that. Now, at this time, who besides yourself comprised your company, your consulting firm? I was really Philippe, and Philippe, if I may say so. However, I did pick up some contracts to help different companies. And as such, I picked up a contract with a company in Europe who wanted to get technical help in the U.S., and I picked up the Osborne contract and a whole bunch of others. And when I had too much work, I certainly would look in Silicon Valley for some help to help me get that work done.
From job shops per se, rather than hiring employees, or yes, hiring employees. How did that work?
No, I did not hire employees. I had a hard time keeping myself hired.
What a difference in because I've been self-employed for 20-something years, and the first time I've ever had an employee was here with KSCO, and there was no other way to do it. We've got the greatest group of employees anybody could possibly have, but what an art it is to be a people manager, and so that's why you gotta turn it over to other people who know what they're doing. I think Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs were famous for knowing that important fact, stepping aside and letting their company get built by somebody who knew how to build a company. But what's amazing about you is that you built this company by yourself. At least that's what I think. Am I right? The company I'm talking about is Orland, and we are sort of jumping ahead here. How did you do that?
I first didn't build Orland by myself. I think we systematically had a lot of help. In the early days of Orland, after we started in '83, I really had someone help me a lot. His name was Spencer Zawa. He's a guy I met actually as I was sharing space in a computer store in a systems house in San Jose. So system house called Horizon Systems on Stevens Creek Boulevard, in between two car dealerships. And I was subleasing a room in there just to run my MIT business. And this guy, Spencer Zawa, was working in that systems house and trying to sell computers to local businesses and install accounting systems and all that.
What year is this?
That's 82, 83. And this guy wanted to learn about computers, and he was doing that during the day, but in the evening he had a Japanese restaurant. And once he was done with his Japanese restaurant, he had a mail order sesame salad dressing business. And he was doing all these things that was very fascinating to me. And he knew about mail order, he knew about all these things, and he knew how to operate a restaurant. So when the company started to get off the ground and the product started selling, that's a story in itself, I asked Spencer to come and help, because I figured that running a company was not much different than running a restaurant. He did a pretty good job at his restaurant, and he was a big help.
So the help at MIT, or had you decided that you wanted to do
what became Orland? He became help with Orland. MIT couldn't afford anybody, but when we released the first product, Turbo Pascal, and the company started being successful immediately, essentially, Spencer really came in and really ran operations and did a terrific job at it. And did it for about 5 years. First 4 or 5 years of the company, he ran operations, and I think he and I were a terrific team.
Is Spencer still in the area? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Spencer retired after 4 or 5 years. Retired after 4 or 5 years, made very well, and is in real estate. And I think you can see him driving his Ferrari F40 sometimes around. And I think he retired. He's actually involved in a whole bunch of different things. Not in high tech anymore.
Interesting. Well, here's what I remember about Orland, okay? Because I was sort of in the microcomputer industry, on the periphery of it, you would say, because I was in the video production business. My little sole proprietorship business at the time you were doing all this was making video movies for companies to help train their employees or promote their products. And I had become interested in microcomputers, pardon me, particularly the Apple II, because I wanted to be able to generate little animated sequences and titles and electronic graphics, rather than having to have them manually created, have the artwork manually created, and then have it photographed by a TV camera. I wanted to do it the high-tech way, the electronic way. And I discovered the Apple II computer in my quest to be able to do that. And I started doing movies, video movies for companies like I said, that wanted to produce, promote their products or train their employees. And right about 1982, I heard of this company called Borland International that was based in Scotts Valley, right in our own backyard. And this company was really blazing new trails in that it was selling very high quality software, primarily designed for use not by the general public, but by software developers. In other words, tools to help software developers make better software quicker and more efficiently. And that was a product called Turbo Pascal. And this is something where similar products or previous products like that had been sold for $600-700, and that you were selling this product for $49.95, and you were doing it on.
I'm so fucking sick with this thing buffering.
It isn't quite right, because this is my perception back then, and you know, people I knew from the Scotts Valley area would say this little company is doing amazing things. You know, from its little room that has its bank of telephones and operators that are receiving calls on the 800 number from the various magazine ads in the personal computing journals like Byte Magazine and so forth, where you were advertising this amazing product that everybody was used to paying $600 or $700 for $49.95.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty close. I mean, there's some nuances, but you know, you're quite close. Fundamentally, yes, the first product that became commercially successful was Turbo Pascal, and indeed it was competing with products around it that were significantly more expensive. Now, that's not the whole story, because it was also competing with a product that was about half its price. Mm-hmm. There was a product at the time that was in its category called JRT Pascal, and JRT Pascal was $29.95, and IBM Pascal was $595. And we've kind of had to position ourselves in between these products. We had a better product, but you know,
we did better marketing, because I never heard of JRT Pascal.
Well, the marketing was fairly interesting, because we had a vision to build a company constructing tools and add-on tools for developers, because the world of personal computers at the time was really a power user, developer, hobbyist, everybody kind of program somehow, whether it was in BASIC and in UCSD Pascal. I mean, everybody was hacking at the system. So there was obviously a big overlap between the people who would buy a development tool and people who would a personal computer in the early days. And that was an interesting business. And we went to, I actually went to venture capital companies on Sand Hill Road or around there, Menlo Park, to look for venture capital. And of course, I very rapidly found out that I'd probably make more money babysitting than sitting in their lobbies, because no one would give me any venture capital, because it looked very ridiculous. So we had to figure out a way to launch this company or to sell our product. We weren't trying to build a company. We're just trying to make a living and probably, have 10 people do software engineering, be happy, and have a life. Because, building a company didn't seem to be the kind of thing I wanted to do personally. But we just were stuck with the fact that we didn't have the resources to start a marketing program and do all these things. So what did we do? We went out to the magazines, and tried to get some advertising. Had no money, and got Byte Magazine to extend credit. And so Byte Magazine extended credit for about 3 months to pay for an ad, and they got our ad in. And then I went to Comdex, and that's become a famous anecdote, because I wanted to get in front of the press and show my product and all this stuff. And nobody
was
wanted.
a Las Vegas trade show, right?
Exactly. Comdex Las Vegas, and the famous Shelley Adelson, who was the guy who invented Comdex, built Comdex, and all that, was there. And I think it was a Friday before the Comdex started. It started on Monday. I went there and courted the guy who was there with all his entourage. That's a big show, and he's a big, powerful guy. And I was a guy with a briefcase, and just cornered him in this corner. I said, Mr. Adelson, Mr. Adelson, can you let me have a room or a place where I can do a product announcement and do something where I can show my product and I'll pay you back. And I was kind of annoying him, I guess. After a while, Shelly says, I'm here to do business. What are you doing here? So he goes, and with his accent, he goes, well, why don't you go, if you got the fog my show, why don't you go and do your press conference at McDonald's? And I did call a press conference at McDonald's, and 6 journalists came. And so my first press conference at McDonald's in Las Vegas, right. And so I distributed these flyers. So that's a great idea. And announced that there was going to be a press conference at McDonald's, and 6 journalists came. And out of 6 journalists, I got 5 reviews of the product. They loved the product. I had this little Otrona, which was a little small, little portable machine, download the product on it. And the company really started because of the ad and because the famous McDonald's press conference, and the fact that these guys had a chance to look at the product, wrote great reviews.
And Shelley Adelman really did help you, although not in the way that you and Adelson. He did help you, although not in the way you had anticipated or hoped.
Well, I was
better.
I always tell Shelley that he gave me my best marketing idea in the history of the company. Is if we had announced a press conference anywhere else, given how late it was, how many press conferences from other people would have come, probably nobody would have come. But McDonald's, nobody had done it. It was free, of course. How you get a charge? You pay. You buy people a hamburger. So that was actually a pretty good deal, and he gave us one of our best marketing ideas ever.
Incredible. Okay, so you got some good reviews, and you had already arranged for credit in probably the #1 computer magazine at the time. Did Wayne Green have it then? Do you remember? Was he already out of it?
No, Wayne Green was still around, and the classic, what I call the classic computer magazines were still around. The Creative Computings, the Bytes, all these guys. A lot of them have disappeared since then. Compute and all these guys were still around, and immediately we built this formula that allowed us to sell more tools and more add-on tools. We built toolboxes and things like that, and we'd sell them through direct marketing, and we take calls on an 800 number and ship the order as mail order, and we create this formula that became successful.
And it was instant cash, right, as I understand, because of credit card sales.
Instant paper. Not necessarily cash. That was a famous anecdote too, is that as soon as the orders started coming in, we had $100,000 worth of orders in a box for people ordering on the Visa card.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, and so we took it to the bank with Spencer, and we took it to the bank. The people at the bank looked at us and said, "Do you ever hear about something called mail fraud?" And I said, "What do you mean?" It says, "Well, there's so many cases of mail fraud that we're not going to give you any money for this paper. We're going to wait till people are happy and receive their product, and we'll give you the money then." And we were stuck because we couldn't pay for the printing of the manuals or the postage because we didn't have the money. So here we were running around Silicon Valley trying to find a bank who would take our orders, and we had the orders and we couldn't ship them. And finally, Spencer, that's one of the extraordinary contributions that Spencer Zawa made to the company. Finally, Spencer went out to this bank that he was doing business with, his restaurant, and actually he pledged his house as a guarantee in case something went wrong. And thanks to Spencer, we were able to get the cash, pay for the manuals, and ship the product.
The regular old bankers, when they ask you for collateral, you tell them about your stamp collection, your orders, this and that, your art collection. They're not interested in anything but your real estate, and I'm a real estate guy, so I think I've always asked the question, why do you think they call it real estate? The only real estate. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So that gave you the money to print up make the duplicates of the disc and print the manuals to get them out to. A lot of companies die because they get orders and they can't fill them. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a typical thing. Is your first customers are key. How you treat those customers, what product they get in their hands, once they have a problem, how you help them. And I think we did a pretty good job. We were working around the clock, and we did it like a restaurant. And that was the motto in the company. It was very simple. If people don't like what they eat in your restaurant at any day, whether it's at breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner, they're not going to come back, and you don't get another chance. And we